Oh, but look at this. Brendan opts to keep the Kyogre in, and these Surging Strikes, they're really not going to be doing too much damage to this Groudon outright. But what can this Kyogre do to actually follow that up? It has access to something like the Ice Beam. You could also just go for an Origin Pulse here with a little bit less damage, but the Thunderbolt, oh, it's just not quite enough. Origin Pulse connects onto both of these Pokemon, but Groudon critically gets a chance to actually stick around. He Crash in response, was hoping for something like an Amoonguss switch in on the other side, so Kyogre takes out like a champ.
Kyogre takes basically nothing from that. Marcus trying to be one turn ahead, and Brendan saying, I don't need to win the Weather War at this moment. It was definitely a risk. If that had been Precipice Blades instead, picking up a KO onto Urshifu and doing really significant damage into Kyogre, then maybe things are looking better for Marcus. But even then, it would have been a reasonable damage trade, right? Groudon is very low now. And when instead that's not that Precipice Blades, and all that damage was dealt into Groudon for very little to redeem back out of it, Kyogre can just switch back out now and come back in with Weather Control later, and with so much of Groudon dealt with already.
Amoonguss now taking that Kyogre's place, and it's going to be Teralization here. Urshifu has the chance to go for Ghost. It's going to remove its electric type weakness to that Raging Bolt, meaning that this Thunderclap might not be enough to actually knock it out before this Urshifu gets a chance to finish off this Groudon. Thunderclap into the Urshifu. It does half of the damage it needs to get the knockout, and so in return, Urshifu gets a huge KO onto this Groudon, and now Marcus down to his final two Pokemon in this game. You can see him starting to struggle to figure out how to get through this end game.
Right, the Teralization already being spent on the Groudon on the other side means that Precipice Blades is super effective for Keanu against that Groudon. Keanu also just eliminated Wide Guard from the other side, where Keanu still has his own Wide Guard available. So between the two Groudons could be quite a bit in Keanu's favor. Of course, the Ditto is going to have less health than the Groudon on the other side and is one boost behind because it copied the first coaching as it switched in, but the second coaching happened after that, and so it only has one boost in each side. And then it continues to be the most important thing that happened on that turn one. The Groudon on the other side is still asleep. Has gone through one turn, but could still sleep for two more.
Oh, I love this play, though, by Keanu, because you've got two Pokemon in front of you that are going to potentially go for spread damage, Precipice Blades, but this Gouging Fire coming in now has access to that Breaking Swipe. Now, that's no longer a threat to be able to drop your own Groudon's attack stat, so you get a chance to hold on to that coaching boost.
Right, the Wide Guard really helpful for preventing the Breaking Swipe, from mitigating damage, trying to keep this Ditto that's now a Groudon to be the main threat on the field.
So look at this, Breaking Swipe, not functional. Groudon has to try to wake up soon, or this Groudon on Keanu's side from the Ditto could just completely run them over. It's a turn one. Sleep, though, wakes up for the high horsepower, and take a look at how much damage it's able to do to the Ditto on the other side. But the Precipice Blades is huge, a one-hit knockout onto this Gouging Fire, and you bring this Groudon so low that the Zamazenta might be able to clean it up.
The Groudon has to watch out for ice moves from the Chien-Pao on the other side, but of course has Fire Terastallization to mitigate. That would also mitigate damage from Moonblast on the other side, and so wouldn't be surprised to see the Terastallization spent early to keep that Groudon a little bit safer.
There you go. You called it, Len. It's going to be that Fire Terastallization onto the Groudon. But I'm also looking at how these Focus Sashes can play a role, not only on the Flutter Mane on Michael's side, but also the Chien-Pao on Diego's. It's going to be the Icy Wind first from Michael's Flutter Mane that's going to be able to break the Focus Sash, but more critically, drop the speed stat of both this Chien-Pao and this Flutter Mane. We've seen how this can function, but we know now that the Flutter Mane is still going to be faster with the Thunder Wave into the Groudon. It's going to make it much slower than this Chien-Pao. We have some really interesting speed interactions here, but on top of the paralysis, you had the option for a flinch not coming through from the Icicle Crash, so Groudon goes for the Flame Charge, and here's another way that you can counteract some of these speed interactions as Flame Charge gets the KO onto Diego's Flutter Mane, but also increases your speed.
I think the key thing to keep in mind this next turn then is exactly what you just said until we got the reveal of the Ditto on Lucas' side of the field.
Hey,
now,
buddy.
The fun thing about Ditto is that it will copy the opposing Pokemon, it'll copy its stats. The only thing it doesn't copy is the HP. So right now we have two Groudon at +1 speed versus two Venusaur with the same exact speed. There's a potential here for some speed-tied shenanigans. And there's a potential for the Koraidon on Zach's side to go to sleep.
Yep, so Luca will be able to move first with Venusaur. So Venusaur is the fastest thing on the field. And you know what? Zachary said, hey, it's not just the imitation that gets to put things to sleep. I can hit all 3 of my sleep powders.
I love to see that Luca brought the Ditto to this matchup, though, because this is the exact situation where Ditto is so helpful. You cannot be put to sleep because you are now a Grass-type Pokemon. You can match the speed for free, essentially, and then you can also threaten that same style of slow play. Does come down a bit more to sleep turns at this point in time. Who's going to wake up first? Obviously, Zachary still has the Pokemon advantage. But if Luca gets lucky with that Koraidon staying to sleep, this could be a very different game.
Absolutely. Depending on when these Pokemon will wake up, that could be the defining feature here, as the Grass Knot is able to cleanly pick up the 1 hit point KO on the opposing real Venusaur. So we have fake Venusaur and Koraidon Classic up against Terra Fire Koraidon. Both of these Pokemon are going to take another turn of sleep away once more as Indeedee comes out onto the field.
Indeedee is holding the Psychic Seed, so we will see it get a special defense boost, which will help mitigate some of the damage from the opposing Venusaur. But when that Koraidon wakes up with the sun still active on the field, it's going to be taking a lot of damage from that physical Pokemon. I don't know if Raging Bolt is going to be able to take these upcoming hits either.
Well, there's the adaptation, Raging Bolt over the Amoonguss, but that's just going to be a play rough on the switch-in. Zacian does not play fair. He plays rough. Raging Bolt goes down with the follow-up cudgel from Ogerpon. And, well, thanks for showing up, Raging Bolt. We'll see you tomorrow.
You're still going to be on that usage graphic, don't worry. Unfortunately for Arath, I think trying to catch his opponent, maybe doubling into that Terapagos there, thinking that the Terapagos was the bigger threat. But really, knowing what Pokemon Jackson has brought to this matchup and knowing what position he's in, it is unfortunate that Zacian is essentially forced at this point in time to sit on the field with those attack drops, but there is only so much damage that Terapagos is going to be able to deal in return. And really, as long as he doesn't terastalize, he's not going to be taking super effective hits from that Pokemon either. So it will be a little bit of a slower take here. We may see Arath have the opportunity to try and land a Will-O-Wisp on the Zacian or whatever comes in next, which we know is the Urshifu. But at the end of the day, I do think that the momentum is still in Jackson's favor.
Yeah, definitely still in Jackson's favor. There's another Ivy Cudgel, a critical hit into the Terapagos that deals so much damage. Terapagos gets a Calm Mind off, but at what cost? That is not enough health to survive repeated attacks from any of these Pokemon, even as Incineroar does its best effort to reduce the damage of that Ogerpon with a Parting Shot. That means that the Flutter Mane will be coming back out here as the Tailwind is set to expire. So there is a little bit of hope here for Arath because of that.
Unfortunately, Flutter Mane did already utilize its booster energy, but it still should be the fastest Pokemon on the field, unless there's some interesting stats going on here in terms of the speeds. I do think that the Terapagos getting the Calm Mind up is nice, as that will eventually open things up for a potential win condition. But unfortunately for Arath, he's going to have to find his way through these 2 very powerful Pokemon first, because really any attack that Jackson is allowed to land on the Terapagos at this point in time will result in a KO.
Yep, it's going to be very difficult for Arath to survive this. I can't even go for Thunderwave Paralysis because of the Follow Me on the Hearthflame Ogerpon. We'll need to just hope that an Icy Wind can connect, and this Terra Starstorm will be enough with +1. But of course, we know that it wasn't enough even with the super effective damage. That chip is not enough to change that calculation. The only thing that can help right now is a critical hit onto this Urshifu.
Here comes the attack, here comes the connect, and here comes the damage.
The stars are falling from the heavens, but Urshifu is strong, survives it handily, fires back with a Surging Strikes that will pick up the KO onto Terapagos, and Flutter Mane all alone, not able to get past this Hearthflame Ogerpon with the fire typing still intact, means that Jackson Ferris is going to be undefeated heading into day 2.